Shalom, welcome. This is Avraham Shira from Eretz Israel. It's the end of Purim, the 14th of Adar. We've just finished a day of celebration. It's been quite a show around town here, and I'm sure all over the Jewish world. It's a day of celebrating victory and Jewish identity. Now, the question we have on before us is this idea of to reveal or to conceal. I wrote a question such as this on Facebook, and a lot of people answered. I appreciate your answers, a lot of interesting, funny answers and honest answers. And it's the type of question which works both ways. Are we revealing to conceal or concealing to reveal? And of course, I think one of the people answered that it's really both, and it's true. That we dress in our everyday clothes to conceal the things we need to conceal. And then we put up on Purim, we put on a mask, a costume, in order perhaps to reveal something of ourselves and also to conceal something else. And we have in the Megillah an amazing little piece where we see that Esther Amalka was a Jewish woman from Jerusalem. She was exiled to Persia. She was an orphan. She was adopted by her uncle Mordechai. She was known as Hadassah. But at a certain point, the king killed his wife. Achashverosh killed Vashti, who was, by the way, the daughter of the former king of Babylon. See, Babylon at that time had lost a war to Persia, and Persia had taken over the holdings of the Babylonian Empire. And part of the earlier deal was that Vashti was a princess of Babylon, and her father, the king, gave her to Achashverosh as a wife. Okay, well, he got rid of his wife rather easily. We know that Haman wanted to get rid of Vashti. Haman, the evil character in the story, wanted to get rid of Vashti because he wanted his own daughter to become the wife of Achashverosh so he could solidify his power in the kingdom. A very nice internal political maneuver that Haman and his sons were famous for. Nonetheless, Vashti was out of the way now, and Haman and Achashverosh was a little depressed. I guess he lost his favorite queen. And so he had a beauty contest, and beautiful women were invited from all over the kingdom. And here comes Hadassah, the Jewish girl from Jerusalem, who comes from a noble family, who they've been exiled, they've probably been downtrodden, they've kept themselves together. Eventually in Persia, the weight of exile was diminished. They were able to lift themselves up socioeconomically, etc. And yet Mordechai, her uncle, gave her this new name, Esther. And he told her, go to the beauty contest, but don't tell people you're Jewish. So that was her big costume, to hide her Jewishness. And this seems to be a test that a lot of people go through. Now, on a class that I gave on Web Yeshiva on Thursday night, I asked all the students, remember a time when you had to hide your identity in a real way, not in a Halloween fashion or even a Purim story, but in a real way. Was there a time when you had to hide your Jewishness? Was there a time you had to even hide your gender? Was there a time you had to hide the fact that you were American, or that you had to hide your age or your income level? People are hiding things all the time, and there's many reasons why we do that. But interesting, Esther was doing it ultimately to save the Jewish people. Now, when she took the name Esther and changed the name Hadassah to Esther, she was not aware at the time that she was going to save the Jewish people. It could not be. She was not in the king's palace. She was not part of the Beit Nashim. They gave them a year of preparation of spas and makeup and all kinds of ointments for the body, etc., to prepare them for their big night with the king. So she was really hiding herself at the beginning of her entry into the royal strata of the kingdom of Persia. Now, we are told it was 127 kingdoms were in Persia at the time, but actually there's a midrash that says there were 254, but God split his kingdom in half after they had the party where they drink from the cups of the Beit HaMikdash. This is considered a massive sacrilege for any king, Jewish or non-Jewish, especially non-Jewish, to use the vessels of the Beit HaMikdash for improper purposes. So he lost half his kingdom, but when you have 254 kingdoms under you, little fiefdoms, little city-states, whatever they were, some of them obviously were much bigger than others, that you still have 127 left, is what to do with your day. So Achashverosh, he had this big party, but why did he have the party? Because of it was a victory celebration over the Babylonian Empire. So there was this shift of empire from Babylon to Persia, and today that would be right across the Tigris from Iraq, Baghdad, over to Persia, which capital today is Tehran, of course, but Shushan is somewhere in the dusty shadows over there in Persia, in Iran. So it was a very interesting shift in power, because not long ago we had a 13-year war between Iraq and Iran, and they're still not good friends. And this transition of power left the Jews from being vassals to the state of Babylon and made them vassals to the state of Persia. So their transition was part of the flexibility of the Jew in exile, who must go where he goes and find the blessing that he can find wherever it might present itself. Okay, so meanwhile, Esther has hidden herself, her Jewishness. And over the Midrashim are telling us that Achashverosh wanted to know who her family was. Where'd you come from? It's one of the most normal questions you ask anybody when you meet them. Where are you from? It's a way of connection, a way of getting a handle on a person. If you're from Georgia, it's a little different than if you're from London, right? And et cetera, et cetera. We see that people need to know where you're from a little bit because they want to get an idea of who you are. And that's a legitimate thing. Of course, in America, people like to ask, well, what do you do? And I always say, well, when? In the morning, I get up. At night, I go to bed. During the day, I'm a therapist half the time and I teach Torah half the time, but it's a very mundane type of question to ask people what they do, because you really mean, what do you do for a living? And see, that's kind of a little bit of a taboo subject for certain people, because they're really trying to find out how much money you make. And so that's not a very pleasant introduction into a relationship. But nonetheless, that's something that you work on when you leave America. I don't know about today, but nonetheless, Esther was dealing with questions all the time about her identity, and she just refused to say, I'm an orphan, my parents died, and that's it. And she would not talk about it anymore. And so this interesting detail, of Esther hiding her Jewishness, became her mask, became her costume. Now, she didn't take on the costume of I'm a Persian. She didn't say, well, I'm a transported Babylonian, and I'm not a Circassian, and I'm not a Palestinian, and I'm not a Lebanese. I think at the time that probably would have been Syria. But nonetheless, her identity was, I'm not Jewish, in her mind. And that's a very strange mindset, because all the time she knows she's Jewish. She's from a long list of great Jewish people, and so was her uncle Mordechai, all the way back to the leaders of the tribe of Binyamin. Okay, so you see here, there's an interesting thing takes place in the mind when I have to play somebody else. And this identity flip takes place for Jews today. And that's one of the reasons why I asked that question. Why do you conceal, or do you conceal to reveal, or reveal to conceal? Because a lot of people are not so proud of their Jewishness. Or people are proud of their Jewishness, but they live in a place, if they put on a kippah, they're going to get slurs, they're going to get tomatoes thrown at them. The world is changing. And that change is a direct reflection of what's going on Jewish identity. Can I walk down the street proud to be a Jew? Depends on what street, doesn't it? Depends on what government's in place. Depends on what neighborhood. It depends on a lot of factors. And so my identity is under attack, whether we know it or not. Because if I can't feel proud to be who I am, I'm not me. I'm not the best me. So if you want to be proud of who you are, be who you are. But if I live in a place where I can't be proud of who I am, I've got to ask myself, what am I doing here? It's a big question. And I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend to be able to answer that question for anyone. I try to answer it for myself 30 years ago, when I left the United States, I got on a plane at LAX, and I felt very good to leave America. I loved America. I grew up writing poems about America. I thought Walt Whitman was the greatest poet, writing about America. But, something changed in America, and it's still changing. And so I saw the vision and the dream forward in the state of Israel, and in the idea of a place where I could just be happy to be Jewish. I could grow a beard like this. I could wear my Purim robes. I could wear my little 10 Sphirot medallion, and enjoy being me. So that's really a big part of this identity question is, do I feel comfortable in my own skin? Do I feel comfortable in my costume? And so what you see is, you notice on Purim, people go out and they put on costumes and they seem happier. Now, maybe it's the alcohol, but let's say they're happy the minute they put their costume on before they start drinking. And I'm talking about adults. I'm talking about middle-aged people, young people. And of course, kids love to dress up anyways because it's just fun for them. They love the change. So that's part of the joy of the costume, of the new identity, right? Is just the change itself, the chidush, the renewal in my self-perception. When I see myself differently, oh, I'm Avraham Shira. I teach Torah on Facebook. This is great. This is what I set out to do. It took me a while to get used to these high-tech items over here, but So I feel good about that. Now, everybody needs to feel good about what they do. If I don't feel good about what I do, even if I'm a shoemaker or I work at a kosher McDonald's, whatever it is, I need to feel good about what I do, or I don't really go through life with a sense of fulfillment. And that's really important. And that's important spiritually and psychologically. Okay, so you notice people when they dress up, there's that change. They get to step into a new identity. And that new identity, they know it's not real. Everybody knows it's not real, but you feel the shift. And the shift comes out in joy. It comes out in smiles and laughter. Oh, look at you. Look, that's a great costume. You look wonderful. You look better. You look younger. All kinds of things people say when you notice this at a Purim festival. And I think that it's really a teaching that we can take into every day of the year. Because when I wear my everyday costume, I put on my suit and I go to yeshiva or I go to the office and I visit with clients, that's a costume too. But it's the costume of not Purim, right? It's the costume of I am this person who does these things. So there's a kind of a dress code that goes along with what we do. And I accept the dress code. I like the dress code. I like what I do. But if I don't like what I do, guess what happens to my dress code? It changes. Did you ever notice that teenagers start with the first thing they do? They tear their jeans. They pull them down below their knees. That all of a sudden body parts getting exposed, and they got to look macho, and women have to show off things. And when you're young and you're 17, you're searching for identity to separate from my parents. I want to find out who I really am. So that's one of the reasons why young people, they change their clothes, because they're struggling to find out who they are. And they grow their hair funny, and they put stuff in their, holes in their body, and all kinds of interesting things, shall we say. But why are they doing it? Because they're searching for themselves. They're searching for an expression of self. And that's a legitimate thing. That's a good thing. So if your kid comes home with a ponytail, don't make fun of him. It might look funny, but it's okay. And if your daughter comes home with a less than modest outfit, well, ask her, how you doing? What's going? You getting a lot of looks with that outfit? People checking you out? You like that? You like that attention? Because attention, my friends, is a buzz. Attention is a drug. Okay? And you can get addicted to the drug of attention. And that's a problem. Because in psychology, that's called narcissism. And well, I guess America is like, they're the world exporters of narcissism, because they're the founders of Hollywood. And Hollywood is all about projecting an image. And so, again, the projection of image in Hollywood is based on giving people an image of what they would like to be, even though they'll never be Superman or Batman or Iron Man or any, just let's be a man. I don't need all the other adjectives, right? So, these are things that they seem subtle. They are subtle. They seem superficial, perhaps. And, you come home after your Purim party and you take off your costume and you're back to yourself. Now what do I do? Oh no. I look in the mirror and there I am, the same old guy. And the anticipation is gone. It's an interesting thing. When you have anticipation of something new, your brain already starts releasing serotonin to make you happy before you even get what you're going for. Because that's part of the carrot that leads you along. So what do we do when we take off our costume? I go back to my old costume. Do I like my old costume? Do I want to change it? Do I have the courage to change it? They're good questions, And I think that part of maturity and growing up in this world is deciding who we want to be on the inside and on the outside, but it's really based on what I want to give to the world. What do you want to give to the world? And that is a very important question, because what you want to give to the world will depend on how you package it. So you might have something wonderful to give to the world, but if I don't package it right, guess what? It might not be received. It might even be rejected. So this is a question that every person has to make depending on what their gift is to the world. But guess what? There's one being that had to do this a long time ago. And this is the secret of creation, my friends. The secret of creation is that God himself had to hide himself in order to reveal himself. Right? I think that's worth repeating. God himself had to hide himself. He had to, because he's infinite and invisible and eternal. And if he revealed himself the way he is, we would be obliterated and absorbed into the infinite light. And then we couldn't exist as separate individuals with separate identities, with separate expressions and talents and gifts. So Hashem himself had to hide himself in order that he could reveal this awesome creation that we live in. And that is true no matter what religion you go to and where you pray and what you say and who you honor and who you bow down to. There's only one God, and he's behind it all. And so this Purim, ask yourself, am I happy with my costume? Was I happy with my costume on Purim? Was I happy with other people? It was fun, right? It's a little zip. It's a little joy coming down. And people are having a good time. You notice on the streets, everybody's having a good time. People are saying hi to you. They never say hi to you unless it's Purim. It's interesting. And I experienced that in Rosh Hashanah and Uman, by the way, where 50,000 Hasidim go for the new year. But okay. When people have a reason, you notice, when people have a reason to be happy, they'll go for it. Imagine a world where we can just be happy because of the way it is every day. Can we just be happy because every day is like, no, we don't have to drink every day to say hi to my neighbors, to smile to people, to be happy about who I am and my choices in life, and to be happy for other people and their successes. No, I don't have to need Purim or the new year in order to do that. Now it helps, and God gives us that help. And he even says, drink a little wine. It's going to make it easier. Because he knows we have these walls of protection, these defense mechanisms and all these things we built up over the years that, well, they get in the way. They make it harder to be ourselves. And deep inside, there is a truly loving person inside every human being. And so this is the real long-term vision, is that we can put on the mask and take it off and put it on and take it off and be the same happy person. So that's my blessing to everyone this Purim, that we should all taste the joy of Purim and drag it into the week fighting and drag ourselves to synagogue laughing and enjoying life, because it'll be over before we know it, And when it's over, well, it's a little bit late to start feeling regret about not being happy and not telling people I like you and I'm happy you're in my life. So I'm happy all of you are there on Facebook, and I'm happy all of you are listening and enjoying your Purim wherever you are. And we'll see you again this week on Patreon, YouTube, Facebook, etc. And I've been told by the authorities that I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe to our webpage, avrahamshira.com. So I'm just following instructions coming from the top. But everybody have a great, it's today Tuesday. Oh, no, we're going into Wednesday. So see, in Purim, we're above time. Days are gone. Hours are gone. Night, well, is the sun out? I don't even know. But I do know that there's reason to be happy, to be Jews, to be human beings, to be on this planet, because otherwise, there's not really many choices otherwise. Well, God bless all of you. Have a great day and a great day tomorrow. And continuing to look for that true yourself inside the mask. All the best.